Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I'm going to be reading for you guys chapter 4. So let's get started. Okay. All of a sudden, I know how Dad feels when he completes a chapter of the book. Or Mom when one of her plants suddenly blossoms or she finishes a new section of the quilt and goes around with a smile on her face all day, even when no one's looking. I know Molly must have felt when Tierney McGoldrick asked her to go steady, which is what happened 2 weeks ago. She came home wearing this tiny gold basketball on a chain around her neck, and she was so giggly and cheerful and bounced around so much that Mom finally had to tell her to calm down so that her newly normal nose wouldn't have a relapse. Molly's nose had finally stopped bleeding at the beginning of March, which is about the same time that the sun came out. After a month of great cold, Dr. Putnam in the village said that proved what he had thought, that the bad weather was causing her nosebleeds. Molly said she didn't care about what caused them. She was just glad they were over, glad she could go back to school. Dad said he was sorry he hadn't bought stock in the Kleenex company. I've hardly seen the sun at all because I've seen. Oh, okay, wait. I've been in my dark room. My dark room, it's finished. It's all finished and perfect. My father did it. That's the way he said he would. And everything is just the way I dreamed of it. There is nothing that my father can't do. The first pictures I developed were the ones of Will Banks. I've had that roll of film tucked away in a drawer and under my knee socks for almost 2 months. I was scared stiff when I developed it. Scared that I had forgotten how. That I would do something wrong. But when I took the strip of negatives out of the tank and held it to the light, there were 2 pictures of the old house across the field. And then 34 pictures of Will looking at me in 34 different ways. I felt like a genius, like an artist. When the negatives were dry, I printed them all on one sheet. It's hard to see from the negatives exactly how a print will look, so I crossed my fingers again when I developed the contact sheet that would show me the real pictures for the first time. I stood there over the tray of developer and watched in the dim red light as the sheet changed from white to gray, and then saw the grays change to blacks and the shades become the faces of Will. After 2 minutes, there he was, looking up at me from the tray, 34 of him, still tiny but complete. When it was ready, I took it, still dripping wet, into the kitchen and laid it on the counter beside the sink. Mom was there, peeling potatoes, and she looked over, first curiously, and then as if she were really surprised. "That's Will Banks," she said. "Of course it's Will Banks," I told her, grinning. "Isn't he beautiful?" She and I looked for a long... Oh my god, guys, I'm so sorry. I know you guys gonna see it. I'm so sorry. I know it's a little rude that I was doing this on the recording. I'm not sure if you can hear what just happened, but I'm not gonna say it anymore because I'm just really sorry it happened. Well, nothing wrong. I'm just saying something that I shouldn't be doing on camera. On recording, not camera. Sorry. So I don't show my face right now. Don't ask questions about that. Okay, I'm gonna get back into my reading. Well, guys, quickly, the reason why I don't show my face, I just didn't find the right moment to do it. I mean, eventually I will when I can allow myself to do so. I'm not saying that I won't ever do it, but maybe on my other channel, but I don't know when I'll be doing it, so you don't have to wait for that, but you can just wait for my reading videos, and on my main channel you can just wait for a lot of fidget videos, maybe sometimes of my cats doing different things, or just something random, you know? But I hope you guys enjoyed those videos and this one. Well, I'm gonna get back to reading, everyone. Oh my god, I have an addiction to saying everyone every time. Okay, instead of that, I'm just gonna say I'm going to get back to reading, guys. Well, maybe I said that too much, but never mind. I don't really care. It's just YouTube. It's not like a formal letter or anything. So, I mean, I still try to write with my best grammar as possible. Just saying. Well, it doesn't matter though, but still. Okay, I'm done chatting. I'm so sorry. Chatting. And I know you don't want to hear you. I just want to hear me read. Sounds good. Okay. She and I looked for a long time at all the tiny prints on the paper. There he was, lighting his pipe and then smoking it, looking at me, half laughing. Then he leaned back in his chair. I had blown the focus on that one a little when he leaned back, out of the range of focus. I should have realized that. But then there he was, sitting up straight, back in sharp focus again, looking at me. Pause. Okay, now. Ready? Looking at me with his eyes bright with interest. I remembered that he had been asking me questions about the camera, how I determined what settings to use. Toward the end of the roll, his eyes were looking past me and far off, as if he were thinking about something in the distance. He had been telling me about a camera that he had once, that he still had, if he could find it in the attic of the little house. He had bought it in Germany, he said, after the Second World War. Then he was stationed there with the army. That surprised me. You were in the army? I had asked him. The only people I knew who were in the army were boys who had flunked out of university and didn't know what to do with themselves. Oh. Sorry. Just something weird happened. Okay. Sometimes they would come back to see Dad in the house in town with funny haircuts. Will had laughed. I was an officer, he said. Would you believe it? People saluted me. He put a stern look on his face and made a rigid salute. It was there in the pictures. Then he laughed again and puffed on his pipe. And in those days, we all joined the army. It seemed important then. For me, the best part was coming home. It was in summer when I came home, and Margaret had made 10 blueberry pies to celebrate. We made 10 blueberry pies to celebrate. We ate blueberry pie for 3 days, and then we were sick of blueberry pie. And there were still 6 left over. I think she gave them away. He had closed his eyes, remembering, still smiling. It was the last picture on the sheet. His eyes were closed, and the smoke from the pipe was a thin white line beside his head and circling across the top of the photograph. I marked 6 of the tiny prints with a marking pen. My 6 favorites, each a little different. Then I went back into the darkroom and spent the rest of the day enlarging those. I made 2 sets of them so that I could give one of each to Will. I wondered if he'd be pleased. They were good pictures. I knew that, and both my parents had said so too, and they would never lie to me. But it must be a funny feeling, I think, to see your own face like that, caught by someone else, with all your feelings showing in it. I took my own set of Will's pictures up to my room and taped them to the wall very neatly, with 3 above and 3 below. I've been trying to keep my half of the room neater ever since. Molly drew the chalk line. Every time I feel my things start piling up and getting messy, Molly draws it over again just to let me know it's still there. She was on her bed, drawing pictures in her school notebook. When I went in and put the pictures on the wall, "Mom will kill you if you tear the wallpaper," she said, glancing over at me. I know it. We both knew it wasn't true. My mother hardly ever gets mad. She scolds us sometimes. What the thought of Mom killing somebody is ridiculous. She doesn't even step on ants. "Hey," said Molly, suddenly, sitting up and looking over at the wall. "Those are really good." I looked over to see if she was joking, and she wasn't. She was looking at Will's pictures with interest, and I couldn't tell that she meant it, that she thought they were good. I like that one there where he's looking off in the distance and smiling. She decided, pointing to one in the bottom row. Darn it, I think I got something stuck in my throat. Anyways, moving on. He was talking about his wife, I remembered, looking at the photograph with her. Ow. Sorry. Molly sat there for a minute, thinking. She looked pretty again. And now that she was feeling better, her hair had gotten its curl back. "Wouldn't it be great," she said slowly, "to be married to someone who felt that way about you, so that he smiled like that whenever he thought of you?" I hadn't ever really thought about it in such personal terms, to be honest. I find the whole idea of marriage intensely boring. But right at the moment, I knew that Molly meant, and I could feel how important it was to her. "Tierney looks that way at you all the time," I told her. "Really?" "Sure. Sometimes when you don't even know he's looking at you." "I saw him in assembly last Friday, looking over at you. Remember, you were sitting with the cheerleaders. He was watching you, and that's the way he looked. Almost like Will is looking. Almost like Will is in the picture." "Really?" Molly curled up on her bed and grinned. "I'm glad you told me that, Mag. Sometimes I don't know what's going on in Tierney's head at all. Sometimes it seems as if basketball is all he cares about." "Well, he's only 16, Molly." All of a sudden, I realized that I sounded like Mom, and I giggled. So did Molly. "Hey, look, Meg," she said, handing her notebook to me. "You're such a good artist, and I can't draw at all. Can you help me make these look better?" She'd been drawing brides. Good old Molly. She's been drawing brides since she was 5. Her drawing ability hadn't improved much in 10 years either, to tell the truth. But suddenly, the idea of drawing brides was kind of scary. I took the ballpoint pen. "Look," I told her, "your proportions are all off. The arms are too short. Even though you've tried to hide it with all those big bouquets of flowers, just keep in mind that a woman's arms reach down to the middle of her thighs when she's standing up. Her elbows should reach her waist. Look, your drawings are all have elbows up by the bosom. Bosom. Sorry. That's why they look wrong. The necks are long too. But that's probably alright because it makes them look glamorous. Fashion designers usually draw necks too long. If you look at the ads in Sunday's New York Times, you'll see. Molly? What? You're not thinking about getting married? Molly got huffy and took back her drawings. Of course I'm thinking about getting married. Not now, stupid, but someday. Don't you think about it? I shook my head. No, I guess I don't. I think about being a writer or an artist or a photographer. But I always think about myself alone, not with someone else. Do you think there's something wrong with me? I meant the question seriously, but I was hard. It was a it was a hard question to ask. So I crossed my eyes and made a face when I asked, "What? Oh my God. I don't know where I left off." Okay, I'm gonna pause for a second. Okay, maybe